Hi, I'm Jeff from the Bronco Graveyard. This is our informational product video. Today's topic is drive shafts. On the early Bronco, they used two different drive shafts. They used the Borg-Warner, which they used from 66 to 69. After that, they switched to the Dana Splicer shaft. Two totally different animals. Here, this is the Borg-Warner shaft here. You can tell that by it has inside clips on the U-joint compared to the Dana Splicer, which has outside clips on the U-joint. Another distinct difference in them, the slip and stub is up top by the transfer case on the Borg-Warner, where the Dana Splicer shaft, the slip and stub, is at your front end or at your rear axle. Ford used this Dana Splicer shaft from 70 all the way up into the 90s on all their Ford vehicles. Far superior shaft in this here. If you have one of these and it's wore out, the best thing to do is buy a brand new Dana Splicer shaft, buy the changeover yoke, and you're ready to go. The parts are readily available and cost about a third of what they do for the Borg-Warner. Now we're going to talk about the anatomy of a drive shaft. Drive shaft is made up of a few just simple, easy parts. First part, CV head. That's in the front here. On the early Broncos, all the way up into the 79, that bolts right to your transfer case flange. This gives it the articulation for the angle. Helps it ride in there, make it a smooth ride. These were used up until like 89 on the Broncos. Then up in the 90s, this is a new CV head here. U-joint goes in there, upper joint goes on your shaft, and this bolts to the transfer case. It's a flat flange CV head. This here is known as the H-collar, or the H-yoke. This basically holds both U-joints in place so it moves as one unit when your truck flexes and when you go over bumps and suspension moves. H-yoke, same on all the vehicles. As we slide down further, this is what's known as a slip. This is a slip yoke. Goes on the back here. These are replaceable. Holds your back U-joint, which goes into your rear end or your front end. Used them all the same, all the way down through the years. Then when you get into the 90s on the Bronco and the pickups, they basically had, this is called a companion flange. It's a flat flange on this side, and this bolted to your front end or your rear end. Basically, this would be your rear drive shaft with the joint, and it would sit like this. This is how your later Broncos and pickup trucks were made. Instead of having the U-joint clamps on here, you just bolt it right to the rear end. Makes it a lot easier. Next, I'd like to show you how to correctly measure a drive shaft. There are two measurements on a drive shaft. The first one is called the collapse length. When the shaft is fully compressed, you measure from the top of the center joint to the bottom of the center joint. This one's right at a little bit more than 31.5 inches. This is for an early Bronco rear shaft. Another way to measure the shaft is called the running length. This is the critical point. You have that much travel in your drive shaft, you want to kind of be right in the center. So basically, if you've got a shaft in your truck, you'd go from the top of the center joint by the transfer case down to the rear axle where the rear flange is and measure. This one would be a running length of 34 inches, which would be perfect for this shaft. This is critical if you have a lifted truck because you don't want to have it too short. If the drive shaft's too short, it's almost pulling out on the splines in here. Doesn't give you as much strength and it has you wobble. You don't want to have it too far in here because then you have no compression and when you go off-road you'll have some failure issues. That's why it's critical to get this measurement correctly. Another measurement is the joint size. This is a 1310 here on an early Bronco. It measures about 3¼ inches wide. After 79, Ford went to a 1330 series, and that measures about 3½ inches wide. That's the series of the joints. That again, that needs to be measured on the top and bottom.